Hey, this is Ramon, channel is Alpha 4, and I just got in from a hike. And I am going to try, off the top of my head, to explain the concept of original sin. Why am I doing this? Because I'm crazy. I don't know. Actually, it's because I was reading something this morning that made me think of original sin. And I think this would actually be enlightening to people who want to see what a philosophical or Catholic influenced version of original sin is. Okay, so here we go. How much of you is your parents? More so, how much of you is your father? And how much of you is your mother? And then how much of you is unique to yourself? Then ask the question, how much of your father is his father? And how much of your father is his mother? And then of your mother, how much of her is her father? And how much of her is her mother? Now it gets even more complicated than that, because then you got to think about the fact that your parents may have raised you. Sometimes that's not the case, but for the most part, for most people, that is. So then you got the problem of your personality, because how much of your personality is based off of theirs? And even the things that are opposed to their personality, the things that you do that are against their wishes, you're still doing it against to that particular person or set of parents. Which means that your personality and your actions are still based on the precepts and understandings of an individual or a pair of individuals. Now, I'm not denying that there's a little bit of genetic variance in each further generation. But clearly, you were once your parent. In fact, you came from your parent, and until you were conceived, you were part of your parent. You were not an individual being, you were of your parent. Okay, now, your parent was once part of their parent until their parent conceived of them. And so it goes back on through generations, back until we get to the original ancestor. Now, whether this original ancestor was a group of separate ancestors from different locations, or a group of or one small single group from one area, such as the Indus Valley or Africa, or even one single parent, such as Lucy or Eve or Adam. Whoever is the first human, we are still him. He or her still lives on through us. Get it? So everything that they did before they conceived us, we did. Everything that your parents did before you were conceived were actions that you did when you were them, while you were part of them. Those actions were actions that you did. Okay? Now let's get a little bit more complicated. So, that means that in some way, everybody on Earth that is of the human species is related. We're all extremely distant cousins. But that also means that we go far enough back, we're all from one individual body or set of bodies. Which means that when you deal with the person that you hate, or when you deal with the person that you love, it is the right hand versus the left hand. When you're arguing with someone, it is this cell arguing with this cell. The person who you hate the most and the person who you love the most was once far enough back in your family tree also you. That is original sin. Original sin does not mean that we're all tainted. It means that the actions of our ancestors are not just things that we have to deal with on a corporeal level. They're also actions that we ourselves took when we were that ancestor. When one cell divides and becomes a new cell, that's still material from that first cell. It continues on. So even though some cells die, the new cells that live are a continuation. You don't have a new body. It's the same body. It's the same body, but they're new cells. In the same way, the human being is one body. Okay? The human being is one body, and anything that the human being does is collected all together. That is original sin. So it's not just about bearing the consequences of our ancestors, which we have to do no matter what. You can't get away from that. It's also on a more metaphysical level, realizing the fact that our genetic heritage goes all the way back to the beginning of the human race. And there's even an argument to be made that our genetic heritage goes back to pre-evolutionary sapiens and to whatever we were before that. So we are bearing the genetic responsibility of thousands of generations, if not millions of generations. Every time that a cell split and became another cell and then became a cluster of cells, every time that happened, we are a continuation of that life form. We are a continuation of a single life form called human being. Whatever that human being was. That's original sin. And like I said, it could be clusters, and then they all made it together and became one new species, or it could just be one group, or it could just be one single person, one first human, or one first human pair. But whatever that combination is, that is who we are. We've always been that person, we always will be. And that little genetic variation that happens when two new people meet and there's a little bit of mutation that happens, that's unique to you. And if you don't have children, then that uniqueness dies with you. But if you have children, that uniqueness continues on. And then you, as whatever you are, up until the time that you conceive a child, can continue on. That genetic material can continue on infinitum until the end of the universe or whatever. So, and maybe one day we'll figure out how to get out of the universe and that won't even matter. So you can continue on forever, and that original being, that original life is part of us. And it goes back, like I said, into the evolutionary chain. So we are a continuation of life. And we're all connected. That is original sin. I hope you enjoyed that. Peace.